Hey, what are you doing over there? Come over here. No need to be shy. I don't bite, usually. These models, are you under the impression that I made these by myself? I can't even model a cup. I don't know what I'm doing. So somehow somebody like me got access to some kind of secret alien technique of making these kinds of models. How did I do it? Photogrammetry. What's photogrammetry? It's this process of taking photos around whatever model you have, usually in a circle, and then you put it into some magic software and it spits out a model 1,000,000 times better than whatever you could have made, because the textures are projected to whatever geometry it generates, and the level of detail that you're getting in these kinds of things are ridiculous. We're talking millions of polygons. We're going down to the poor level, people, the poor level. But the question is, of course, how does this work? How does it go from photos to model? What's like some of the magic behind it? Well, long story short, the first step of photogrammetry is always camera alignment. This is the idea of the software kind of patching everything together and saying, these are where the original cameras must have been when photographing. So now we have both the camera positions and a sparse point cloud it can generate, and we can move on to the next step, which is the mesh reconstruction. So here it's using all this data to create something that, quite frankly, too detailed. They're talking maybe tens of millions of polygons, which it then simplifies, it smooths, and it basically refines the mesh into something that's less insane. And Blender can actually open, because it's fucking Blender can't open anything beyond 500,000 polygons, at least with their OBJ importer. That's why we're going to be using Alembic in a bit. Usually, the next step in this kind of thing is calculating vertex color, or maybe you're just projecting raw texture, so we get the texture data instead of having, little colors for every dot. And finally, we export the model, and that's just going to be the whole process. So somehow, this photogrammetry process lets us capture reality capture. This is a program that lets us do photogrammetry, and let me give you a tour of how complicated. I mean, you're not going to be able to understand how to do this. So we are going to start off by importing in our data set, in other words, the images that we took. And now that you've imported them, I want you to go to the settings and enable vertex color and texture. So reality capture is going to be calculating for both of these. And then you're going to do the highly super complicated process of clicking the start button, and reality capture creates a high fidelity model that you don't need to put any input into unless you really want to go into the advanced settings. It really is that complicated. 3 buttons is that's a thing. Yeah, it's crazy. But now that you have the model, all you have to do is click export, and then you can choose Alembic or whatever you want with the texture. You import this bad boy into Blender, create a quick material, and already you have realistic results in Blender. But let's go a bit more under the hood, not like going into the advanced settings of reality capture, but just so you know a bit of what's going on. When you click the start button, what's actually happening is it's going through all the steps that we listed before. So for example, it's aligning the images, creating this cameras everywhere with the sparse point cloud. You can then do the mesh reconstruction, the texturing. Basically, you can take it step by step by step, and at each point control all the parameters. There you're gonna have to do a bit of research to understand what they're all doing, but you can also use reality capture like I do, in the sense of I hit a button, sometimes I choose the mesh quality, and I just kind of export it because the results are very fast and very good. This stuff calculates pretty quickly. I remember photogrammetry back in the day. I was doing this stuff a couple years ago, and it'd be like 3 hours just for the mesh reconstruction step, not even including texturing. That's just old me, but it's gotten faster. 2020 is crazy. Now, on the off chance that your model comes off kind of disheveled or torn or whatever it is, there's a good chance that the issue was in the data set, the photos you were taking in the first place. So some stuff to keep in mind is, because this process is aligning cameras and it's assuming that everything is staying constant, you do not want to be photographing objects that are too thin, that are reflective. These are all issues that will not create a good scan. Maybe you have an object that has no detail, like a plain white wall. How is it gonna tell where different points on that mesh is? When taking these photos, it is also best to set white balance, make sure your aperture, shutter speed, focus, all of this is consistent from shot to shot to shot. This way you're not adding any kind of artificial inconsistency that will make it look like photos are coming from different scenes, even though you just changed the angle. So long story short, again, just go around whatever object you want, maybe in a circle. You could do it in a couple of rings depending on how tall your object is. You throw it into reality capture, you hit the start button, and that's pretty much all it is. Now, something you might be wondering is, programs usually cost money. That's how it works. They give you a service, you pay for it. Reality capture is of course the same, but the thing about reality capture, which makes it different from a lot of softwares, is it has pay per input licensing if you want that, or of course you could get a monthly license. But if you use pay per input license, the way this works is you get to use the software essentially for free. You can do all your scanning all without paying. You can see what your result is, and only when you're happy with it and you want to export, you can actually pay per input. So you only pay when you want to export. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. That's it. That's the show. Thanks for watching. See ya.